Major funding for NJTV News is provided in part by RWJ Barnabas Health. Let's be healthy together. NJM Insurance Group, serving the insurance needs of New Jersey residents and businesses for more than 100 years. And Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, an independent licensee of the Blue Cross and Blue Shield Association.
Tonight on NJTV News, blocking the Bright Flight.
Governor Murphy visits Stevens Institute of Technology in Hoboken to unveil 2 initiatives aimed at keeping STEM graduates here in the state.
A congressman proposes new laws on bus safety, but ducks questions about driver background checks.
The state health department recruiting doctors for the medicinal marijuana program, but doctors have some questions about it.
Plus, rating the quality of life in the Garden State and its biggest aggravation. And a national award winner in cursive writing. See what this 9-year-old can do with a number 2 pencil. Those stories and more next on NJTV News.
Live from the Agnes Varus NJTV studio at 2 Gateway Center in Newark, this is NJTV News with Mary Alice Williams.
Hello, thank you for joining us. Staunching the brain drain. The governor's calculated the cost of keeping this generation of STEM students in the state so they can build next-generation businesses for the tech economy. Is it worth the price? Chief Political Correspondent Michael Aaron reports from the Stevens Institute of Technology.
Stevens produces scientists and engineers, so that's where Governor Murphy came to lay out his initiatives to keep STEM students in the state after they graduate.
I don't want other places to prosper from the skills they are learning here. I want them, I suspect we all want them, to stay here to become part of that stronger side of the stronger and fairer New Jersey that we're trying to build.
The STEM Loan Forgiveness Program would offer a New Jersey graduate who spends 4 years in a STEM company in New Jersey $1,000 annually in years 5, 6, 7, and 8, and would require an employer match for a total of $8,000.
Given that the average New Jersey college grad leaves school with student debts totaling just under $30,000, this program, needless to say, if you take $8,000 off the top, could help wipe away a significant percentage of the outstanding balances. The
STEM paid internship program would reimburse employers 50% of what they pay their interns, up to $1,500 a year.
Statistics suggest that up to half of these interns are eventually offered jobs at the companies in which they interned.
Assemblyman Andrew Zwicker, a physicist, and Senator Paul Sarlo, an engineer, have agreed to sponsor the necessary legislation. Also present was the CEO of a software manufacturer that is growing rapidly in Bell Works, the old Bell Labs building in Holmdel.
For us to be able to grow, we need STEM-based employees to join our firm and to stay with our firm over the long run, and to choose New Jersey, frankly, because that's where most of our growth is.
Murphy said the loan forgiveness will cost the state $12 million a year beginning in 2022. The internship supplement will cost $3 million and is already in Murphy's budget for next year. He pushes the idea of an innovation economy.
Innovation is in our state's DNA. This is not an unnatural act for us.
In the Q&A with reporters, Murphy was asked how budget negotiations are going with the legislative leaders. His fellow Democrats are balking at some of the tax hikes he's counting on, but he indicated here today he thinks progress is being made.
We had our meeting. It lasted a good hour, and it was quite productive, but we all agree we weren't going to talk about what happened in it. But, you know, we're not there yet, but again, in baseball terms, we may have turned to the top of the 6th. I've been in the 5th inning for a couple of my answers, so I'll admit we might be in the top of the 6th, but it was a very good discussion, very open on both expenditure and on revenue, and we're going to continue those discussions both at the principal level and at the working group level.
Still ahead, the 7th inning stretch and the bottom of the 9th. In Hoboken, I'm Michael Aaron, NJTV News.
Budget blues top the state of New Jersey's business. Rhonda Schaffler is off tonight. Here with the business news is Leah Mishkin. Leah?
Thank you, Mary Alice. And as Michael just pointed out, Governor Murphy is out talking about his proposed budget. Well, the deadline is fast approaching, but a new survey by NJCPA shows nearly 75% of the people polled think New Jersey's economy will get worse if the governor's proposed budget is approved. The main reason for the negative reaction, members believe high taxes on corporations and individuals could force people out of the state and cause more unemployment. Some of the 14% of people surveyed who think the governor's proposal will make the economy better were in favor of the millionaire's tax, among other things. Well, you may have noticed your local Starbucks closed this afternoon. More than 8,000 stores across the country closed for anti-bias training. This comes after 2 black men were arrested at one of the stores in Philadelphia last month, and the video went viral. They were asked to leave after being denied access to the bathroom. Minutes later, the AP says police arrested them after they sat down to wait for a business meeting. Starbucks said the arrest should never have happened, and the closures of stores for training is a, quote, step in a long-term journey to make Starbucks even more welcoming and safe for all. Over to the White House. The U.S. announced it will now impose a 25% tariff on $50 billion worth of Chinese goods with industrially significant technology.
They have a trade deficit of $500 billion a year. It's not something we can live with. So we'll be working with China, we'll be negotiating with China. Again, our relationship is very good with China and we intend to keep it that way. But we have to do something to seriously relieve that trade deficit.
The full list of imports that will be covered is scheduled to be announced in June. The Commerce Secretary is expected to travel to China later this week to continue negotiations on a broad trade dispute. Well, a new poll shows 2/3 of New Jersey residents are in favor of legalizing sports betting. The Fairleigh Dickinson University poll shows 62% of the roughly 900+ people surveyed said they support the U.S. Supreme Court's decision to eliminate federal barriers. Many said they see it as a benefit because it's new state revenue. As for the Dow, it closed down nearly 400 points. And that's your daily business report. I'm Leah Mishkin.
Atlantic City Electric, an Exelon company, connecting communities and powering southern New Jersey.
A hearing is scheduled tomorrow on the detention of Huddy Muldrow Sr., the driver in the fatal school bus crash that killed a student and teacher and injured many more. He's facing 2 second-degree counts of vehicular homicide. Lawmakers are facing questions. Senior correspondent David Cruz reports.
Congressman Josh Gottheimer was here in Fair Lawn to talk about school bus safety. In the aftermath of the fatal school bus crash on Route 80 2 weeks ago, the congressman said it was time for the federal government to join New Jersey in requiring all school buses to have seatbelts, preferably the 3-point shoulder restraints.
I couldn't believe that only 8 states, only 8, require any type of seatbelts. Only 8. Every day, though, nearly 600,000 school buses carry more than 25 million students to and from school, from activities and class trips.
Gottheimer says more than 300 students have died in school bus crashes between 2006 and 2015. The first-term congressman who represents Paramus said as a parent of public school children, he was outraged at how lax school bus seatbelt rules are.
It's unconscionable. We must do more to keep our kids safe in the event of the unthinkable.
The Democrats' bill would require the lap seatbelts, but only recommends the 3-point restraints and does nothing to require driver background checks. That became an issue when we learned that the driver of the bus that crashed on Route 80, Huddy Muldrow, had had his license suspended 14 times, had 8 speeding tickets, and a careless driving summons. On that question, neither Gottheimer nor Michelle Robinson, the Paramus school superintendent, had any answers to give.
I'm sorry I have to run, but thank you guys very much. Thanks. Thank you. Thanks.
Congressman, knowing what you know about this driver now, do you think he should have been driving this bus?
Well, I think that's why I'm here today. As a parent, I'm here today because we have this.
Do you think he should have been driving the bus?
But should he drive the bus?
Should he have been driving the bus given what his record was, his driving record?
As a parent, I don't.
As a congressman, as a parent, as a human being?
That's an easy question. As a congressman, And as a parent, I'll tell you the reason I'm standing here today is because I'm deeply concerned about how we're handling all of our bus safety. That's why I talked about this today. That's why I'm standing here. That's why I'm going to do something about it. I feel very strongly about this and why we're going to get to the bottom of it. And I think that's a clear answer.
In your opinion, should he have been driving the bus?
I just answered that question.
No, you didn't. The superintendent was even less direct. She said the state's Motor Vehicle Commission gave the school system the green light to hire the driver, saying he was, quote, a driver in good standing. The MVC says the Department of Education is responsible for background checks. Our calls over to the DOE were not returned. What do you think, Superintendent? With that record, should he have been driving the bus? Robinson never answered that question, even as a gaggle of reporters followed her to her car. She's been on the job in Paramus since coming over from the school system in Amesbury, Massachusetts in 2015. She said a review of the district's bus driver hiring policy is now underway. In Fair Lawn, I'm David Cruz, NJTV News.
A new estimate of Hurricane Maria's effect on Puerto Rico last fall. The official death toll has stood at 64. But Harvard School of Public Health researchers suggest the real number is more than 70 times that. The research team randomly surveyed nearly 3,300 households about their experiences in the wake of the worst natural disaster on record for the U.S. territory and concluded that between September 20th, when the Category 4 hit, and December 31st, there were 4,645 excess deaths, deaths that would not have occurred if the island hadn't been plunged into a prolonged disaster. The Harvard team says its results are likely to be an underestimate. How do you measure the quality of life here in New Jersey? New polling numbers are at a record low going back to 1980, but not by much. The Monmouth Poll's Quality of Life Index for the Garden State shows 54% of residents say the state is either an excellent or good place to call home. 46% rate it as only fair or poor. But just over 7 in 10 think their town is a nice place to live. The issue that aggravates them the most, 45% say it's property taxes, while schools, jobs, the economy, crime, guns, drugs don't break 20%. Deploying rescue craft, that tops tonight's Garden State Express. Our first stop, Atlantic City, launching custom-designed lifeboats to kick off the beach season, adorned with classic red lettering inspired by the Beach Patrol and a festive collage inspired by the Hard Rock. The hotel and casino won't open until the end of June, by which time it'll be employing an expected 3,500 people, more than 800 of them Atlantic City residents. But to show it's already a good corporate citizen, they had the boats decorated and had lifeguards row one, with the mayor and Miss New Jersey seated inside, out past breaking waves to drop a ceremonial wreath in the ocean. Next to South Mountain Reservation and a ceremonial unveiling of installation art, 4 new sculptures have bloomed in the South Mountain Conservancy's Wildflower Sculpture Park. Among the native plantings are planted Newark artist Lisa Sanders' cast bronze sculptures that represent trees, insects, and human skeletons. Jersey City's Alyssa Nagila created Reverberation. Its concentric circles mimic ripples in water when a raindrop hits the surface. Montclair artist Asha Ganpatch created Soothsayer, a series of some 40 wind chimes hanging from a tree. And Greg Leshy from South Orange created a wind pile of 20 orange windsocks placed on a mound 10 feet tall by 20 feet wide, and the view from up there is spectacular. Finally, North Bergen, where Edbert Aquino has a knack for both perseverance and penmanship. Edbert's a 3rd grader at the Academy of Our Lady of Grace, where students practice the ancient craft of cursive writing for 20 minutes twice each week. And teachers select the best based on shape, size, spacing, and slant to enter in the National Zahner-Bloser handwriting competition. Edbert's The Quick Brown Fox Jumps Over the Lazy Dog sentence, containing every letter in the alphabet, blew away the competition. Some 250,000 entrants in all. Edbert won a trophy half as tall as he, and a framed certificate, too. His advice to others trying to reclaim the nearly lost art of cursive writing: Take your time and concentrate. Otherwise, people might not be able to read it and might think it says something else. The pen is mightier than the smartphone. And that's our Garden State Express for Tuesday, May 29th. Something up in your neighborhood? Tip us off. Ahead of next Tuesday's primary election, military veterans aren't just being courted by the candidates. In many states and in many races, they are the candidates, and they could be pivotal in deciding which party controls Congress. It's a story the PBS NewsHour's Capitol Hill correspondent has been working on here in New Jersey. It will air Friday on the PBS NewsHour. Lisa Desjardins joins Brianna Vannozzi.
Lisa, okay, without giving away too much of what you're working on, you're looking at this pattern that we've seen develop within the Democratic Party, veterans who are running. And New Jersey's 11th congressional district happens to be a really good example of that. So without giving away too much, why is this the political moment for Democrats to put forward veterans to run in these races?
That, in a way, is one of the questions we're trying to answer in this piece. And we're developing a number of theories. The characters we've talked to developing theories. But you're right. New Jersey 11 somehow has sort of become this strange kind of whirlpool of a national trend where we're seeing a historic number of veterans running for Congress this year in both parties, but especially Democrats. That has to do in some ways because Democrats are more often the challengers. They have more often the space to run this year because there's so many Republicans in Congress now. But, you know, talking to veterans who are running and those who are helping them run, they believe that it's popular this year because people want to get past partisanship. And veterans are people who are seen as those who have put country above politics in the past and perhaps can do it again. Now, not every veteran is apolitical or bipartisan. Some are very partisan, but they have that credential in a way that most other people don't.
They're seen as breaking that partisan line. I mean, is that kind of what gets them in the door there, so to speak?
Yeah, and I think it's mostly subconscious. I don't think some of them you will see in New Jersey 11th, you'll hear this too. They are running, many of them saying, I can work with the other side. And in fact, we talked to Mikey Sherrill, who is the leading Democrat in this race. And she said, most of the people I worked with when I was in the Navy were Republicans, and I can work with them again. So they're brandishing their credential of working with all kinds of people in the military as something that they can use in a Congress that's been partisan, and that we know voters are rejecting that partisanship. So they're hoping that that helps them appear bipartisan. When they get in Congress, that's the real test, right?
And I mean, in that particular district, you've got Mikey Sherrill, the former Navy pilot, federal prosecutor, but you've also got Anthony Gee on the Republican side, who is also being backed by some of these bipartisan veteran groups. So are they the ones, are there certain groups or who or what are helping to create this platform? Or is it just the candidates individually saying, I want to go beyond my service to my country and serve my country in this way?
It's both. There are some candidates, like we've seen in Kentucky with Amy McGrath, that have sort of run on their own and run despite their party infrastructure backing a different candidate. She ended up winning the Democratic primary, and now Democrats, of course, love her and they're backing her. But there are other candidates like Mikey Sherrill, like Anthony Gee, who are in fact seeing support from these newer, kind of in the last 5 years, veterans groups. You know, it used to be that veterans wanted to get policy changes made, but now these groups are realizing, hey, we actually need veterans in Congress. We're at a historical low for the percentage of Congress that is made up of people who've served in the military, less than 20%. And so veterans groups are saying, we need more people who have served. We're going to start by getting more candidates who are veterans on the ballot.
Okay, let's turn elsewhere in New Jersey, because we do have some other areas that weren't necessarily considered a toss-up and now are a toss-up. I mean, we have the 5th District. Josh Gottheimer is really raising a lot of money. We've got Senator Menendez's race against Bob Hugin. Let's just talk about that very quickly. I mean, his poll numbers are slipping, so at the very least, his standing within voters, their sentiment is dropping. But What about his clout from a national perspective?
Right. There's one poll showing that Menendez is within 4 points of losing this race. So it's just one poll. We don't know how serious this is for him or not. There's a different way he is looked at on the Hill right now. After he survived his trial, after he survived the ethics committee looking at him in Congress, that was all just in the last year less. He actually regained his footing as the ranking Democrat on foreign relations in the Senate. That's a very powerful position. I think what's happened is two things. Democrats are trying to get past all of his past, and he's returned to a position of very serious clout, not just in foreign relations, but also on the immigration issue. Yeah. Republicans the other way. They do not seem to respect him in quite the same way, but I think that is political. They're waiting to see if he's vulnerable. If he does get through this election, I think, you know, in politics, memories can be very short.
Sure, the numbers dipped and then they came back up again. But we do have sort of that divide within the Democratic Party still, the ultra-progressive and the more moderate. The Democrats, rather, are looking to get 24 seats in the House, and they need 3 Senate seats. Could that happen? And are veterans sort of their pathway to doing that?
It could definitely happen in the House. Veterans are absolutely the pathway to do it. And I will say one thing more. New Jersey is going to be essential. I think New Jersey and Pennsylvania might be the 2 most important states for Democrats. After that, California. But we have to wait and see what happens in the future. New Jersey is going to be key to deciding the balance of power in this country come November.
Lisa, we thank you so much for being here with us. Thanks for stopping by our Newark studio.
Oh, my pleasure. So glad to be here.
The state of New Jersey has already expanded access to medicinal marijuana, both the ailments that qualify for it and the clinics that supply it. Now the state's top health official is conducting grand rounds lectures to help doctors reconsider marijuana, not as alternative medicine, but as moving into the mainstream. Michael Hill reports.
Jersey Health Commissioner Sharif Elnahal came to the Robert Wood Johnson Medical School to share the state's approach to its growing medicinal marijuana program. Elnahal says 6,000 more New Jerseyans have sought medicinal marijuana since Governor Murphy's executive order in March added these conditions to qualify. 22,000 already receive it from more than 600 doctors who recommend it. The commissioner came to recruit more doctors.
I want this to be in physicians and other providers' heads as a therapeutic option.
Why? Elnahal conceded New Jersey's program for medicinal marijuana lacks hard scientific evidence and relies mostly on anecdotal reporting.
Many times it really is the best therapy you can give them for particular conditions.
He ran through a series of ailments and conditions, pointing out different levels of improvement, including one for opioid abuse.
Again, another piece of evidence that availability of marijuana has a positive effect in terms of reducing opioid prescriptions.
It was clear from audience questions that doctors are not on the same page with the state health department when it comes to medicinal marijuana.
I think when we get into the realm of psychiatric disorders, we really need to be much more cautious. And I think that the data truly is inconclusive at this point, especially for the long-term impact. These are conditions that already have very high rates of comorbid substance use disorders, and we don't know the long-term impact. In fact, the leading research right now on the biology of addiction suggests that all people use substances to take away bad feelings. So the idea that people would feel better when they use marijuana is not a surprise from a variety of conditions, and I don't think we can totally interpret that as medicinal.
There's questionable efficacy for certain conditions.
Elnahal said the state plans to eliminate psychiatrists signing off on medical marijuana for children. This child psychiatrist took issue with that.
But to think of it as equal as other medication, you don't have the evidence for me to actually jump on board and say I can do that.
Opioids are available by prescription, and a lot of harmful medications are available by prescriptions from any physician seeing a child. Without the need to see a psychiatrist. The state's medical society has taken a neutral position on medical marijuana.
There seems to be indications where it's going to be helpful, and so we're in support of further studies. For our members that find that it might be useful, we have not said they can't do that.
The health commissioner is touring the state, encouraging doctors to join New Jersey's medicinal marijuana program. At the same time, he concedes the subject needs a lot of scientific research, but since the federal government still considers marijuana a dangerous drug, it's unlikely federal dollars or the National Institutes of Health will be a remedy for skepticism. Michael Hill, NJTV News.
And now some noteworthy facts that help you know Jersey. There are 4 military veterans in the primary race for New Jersey's 11th congressional district, 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans. There are 614 physicians and 940 caregivers participating in New Jersey's medicinal marijuana program. Nearly 75% of the people NJCPA polled think New Jersey's economy will get worse if the governor's proposed budget is approved. And the Hard Rock Casino and Hotel is projected to employ some 3,500 people when it opens next month. If there's someone who you'd like to get to know Jersey, share. Use hashtag #KnowJersey. Tomorrow on NJTV News, a bill that would put New Jersey in the forefront of transgender rights. To share any story you've seen tonight, go to njtvnews.org. I'm Mary Alice Williams. For all the men and women of NJTV News, thank you for being here. See you tomorrow.
The members of the New Jersey Education Association, making public schools great for every child. And PSE&G, we make things work for communities.
Have some water. Look at these kids. How are you? What do you see? I see myself. I became an ESL teacher to give my students what I wanted when I came to this country. The opportunity to learn, to dream, to achieve, a chance to belong and to be an American. My name is Julia Toriani Crompton, and I'm proud to be an NJEA member.